Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to another installment of Moonhawk Studios Presents. Right, since you're hearing my voice at the top, it means it's another week without Mel.
We sent him to the gulag. Wait, what?
I mean, he's. I'm like,
In a
there's no
gulag
way to.
of his own design?
That's a good way of putting it. I'm like, more simply, he is apparently behind on his bills again. And I think he has to, um, do the Uber thing in spades, as he's somewhat wanting to do, which is unfortunate because my brother is joining that race and probably could get some pointers there, but another week. Anyway, I'm your host, Adam, this week. Full-on host, since Mac isn't here to MC the proceedings. Joining me is the troop, as always, Kevin.
Greetings and salutations. Yeah, we're rolling on without our MC again.
Petty.
My internet was attacked by a firework.
You'll get to tell your tale. And the Golics.
I'm alive.
Right. So, since we shift positions, given that we're down a member, Kevin, you start us off.
Well, as per usual, nothing really much happened in real, actual, important life other than me being at the AMC theater here. And really, that's usually the same old with me until I say otherwise at this point. So, yeah, that's pretty much my news. Petty, what's going on in your world?
Well, as many of you know, I live in relatively rural Missouri, and people have decided to shoot off fireworks. Friday.
Way early.
Yeah, Friday during the review stream, my internet cable that crosses the street to my house was hit by a firework and seems to be damaged. The cable company has not come out to fix it. So,
lovely.
Well, the fun part is I don't care at this point. We are getting fiber internet next Tuesday. We're going to be done with the cable company forever. So, if they don't come fix it, I could give less of a shit. The people to dig the trench for the fiber line should be coming sometime by the end of this week, and then Tuesday afternoon they'll be doing the hookup.
There you go.
So we're finally going back to a local internet company. So that's fun. Instead of
there you go.
Because like back when we used to have a local Cablevision branch, internet was actually pretty decent. And then they got bought out by a faceless megacorp and went to shit. And that faceless megacorp got bought out by another faceless megacorp and it went even worse.
Oh boy.
Right now we're here in Missouri, we're being routed to all of our traffic's being routed to New York. To and from. And then needs to go back out west to like LA for Twitch.
So, if I believe what it sounds like, you got them charter boys. Am I assuming correct?
No, they're called Optimum.
Okay, yeah. That does make sense. Okay.
Yeah. So I guess they're based in New York because they're that's where our traffic's being routed to, and I'm like, the fuck are you guys on?
Yeah, the actual Optimum is the actual Cablevision, aka the people that used to own some of the New York sports teams, or actually still do. So yeah.
So yeah, that's I am so glad to be free of them. And I get to make the
Mm.
call to cancel our stuff, so that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Because on paper, we've been a subscriber since 97.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have a lot of, zero riz
Why are you
begging.
leaving? They're like, yeah, they're gonna go like, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? Don't leave.
Basically. So
Yeah, that's the way they always do it.
That's going to be fun. I had a taste of it when we called and canceled DirecTV. Apparently, it's a lot worse when you ditch the cable company. Because we've never had competition here. This is going to be the first time we've changed cable companies. So
yeah, I mean that's the way it's worked for a long time. Monopoly.
Yep. So yeah, I'm just glad
because they wouldn't obviously make it expensive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's going to be fun. And yeah, other than that, I mean, most of what's been going on has just been kind of video game stuff. So, and I mentioned that in the other show. So I guess next victim.
Alex, that'd be you.
Unless he's muted.
Yeah,
or he
we have a long weekend for 4th of July this week because 4th of July is the day off, and then since it's a Thursday, it was looking like enough people were going to take off Friday anyway that it would be a hard to open the office. So boss just gave us an extra day off, so that's nice. Looks like we will probably be going down to Massachusetts to have a cookout with some family on that day, so that'll be good. Otherwise, not a whole lot super interesting going on around here, I don't think. Video game wise, picked up some things on the Steam sale, mostly just stuff that have been in my library for a long time, or in my wish list for a long time, and were on like 50% or more discount. And gotten back to playing Splatoon 3 a bit, which has been fun. Oh, and I did pick up a box of the new Digimon expansion set, so that was neat. I got some cool cards out of that. And this past weekend was the local anime con, and I went on Friday after work, but it wasn't too exceptional because I only went to like one panel that was a trivia game because that was kind of long, and then I looked around the vendor's room, and there was a couple of things I was hoping to be able to pick up, but nobody had any of the things I was looking for, so pretty low-key.
Anything else?
I think that's all.
All right, that means it falls to me. Let's see. Well, this week has been beset with not so much like adjustments in schedule is the best way I can put it without getting too specific. Like as mentioned in the other show, I was expecting, the fam to be up here for 4th of July weekend. That is not happening because they had to stay and to make an extended stay ending just today because somebody had a medical emergency. Apparently that is now passed, and they're going elsewhere for the holiday. So things will be much quieter. And like even with the fireworks, because fireworks still aren't as loud as children.
Yeah,
especially young children who are 5 and can pierce your ears with their scream when they don't get their way. Like, anyway, now that's about my news for the week. So, with that in mind, Sorry. It's a bit off-putting when we have to change like this.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
we usually have a flow, and when one major part of our flow is removed from the equation, it screws us up and short circuits us.
well, especially since Mac takes up, let's be honest, most of the news segment.
Bring us all the way to
some weeks I'm not sure.
12:45.
Some weeks I'm not sure what I'll do if I don't hear about the latest thing he got for like way less than it's worth out of some place that isn't where you normally get stuff.
Well,
The world may never know.
anyway,
I'm sure we'll get updated when he graces us
Comes back.
with his presence, presumably next week.
Fingers crossed, toes crossed.
Anyway, so joining us this week is DougMallow of Small Rice Studios.
Hey, how's it going?
It goes all right. How are you doing, Stay?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm here with my brother Nick to hopefully talk about our upcoming card game called Roast.
Hey guys,
Indeed.
happy to be here.
Indeed. Got to admit, we don't get a lot of the card and board sets on the program, but when we do, it's certainly an exceptional honor. Also worth noting, Galax, you might have questions to ask since, once again, also Petty, since you like card games, you might want to enter the discussion as well.
Mm-hmm.
So just worth keeping that in mind. But anyway, so I suppose to start things off, what is roast? It's not exactly a descriptive name on the surface, but it does make sense when you know what the product is.
Yeah, definitely. So Roast is a card game that centers around roasting the toastiest marshmallows and turning them into the most delicious and gooey s'mores. We are a card game right now, but I hope to actually make a video game eventually, someday. But yeah, right now it's just a card game, and it's a very kind of poker meets Uno clash. You have to have the right components in your hand at the right time to make the s'mores. There's a bunch of gotcha, attack cards, everything like that, and then the main mechanic's kind of a push your luck kind of thing. And it's mostly just about getting together and having fun. I remember growing up and playing Uno, and it was always you get draw forward and you're like, oh, that moment where you're really together and having fun. So that's kind of the main objective of the game. And
as long as you don't have to worry about actually timing it right.
Yeah.
Well, it is an interesting thing you bring up because the game itself doesn't have a set endpoint. There's a card in there called Fire Burns Low, and it's shuffled in randomly. So you won't actually know when the fire's going to burn out, but when it does, the game will end. So, kind of question about when to time it. If you still have some marshmallows on the fire, you might lose them if the fire burns out.
That makes sense. That's certainly what usually ends a marshmallow roasting session.
Yeah, we tried to make it as real, quote unquote, as we could. So all of our characters and all of the mechanics are drawn from a real life scenario where people would be sitting around a campfire roasting marshmallows. Obviously, it's a little fantastical. We have some marshmallows that are based on pirates or ninjas and things like that. But every mechanic in the game is kind of based in reality. So yeah, hoping to remind people of the good times maybe they've spent around a campfire.
And I hope 50% of the cards in the deck aren't smoke gets in your eyes.
No.
Yeah, great.
But then everyone would hate it because they'd be like, damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's supposed to be slightly better than the real thing.
Right, yeah. Well, we have some bad cards too.
The ants didn't make it in either.
Yeah, but the bears did.
The bears did, yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
a couple of environment cards where
Go
they
ahead.
come up against everybody.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Right. I suppose I should ask, what do the bears do? Do they do the thing that they do in real life?
Yes. They take your food.
They demand food.
That was
Yeah.
not what I was implying.
Oh, well, so this bear is more like a yogi bear, so he's not he's a thinking man's bear.
Yeah, I mean he'll take your food, but he won't like eat you.
Well,
That's
he
like a little
threatens
bit
though.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
You just know that if you don't give him your food, then the next logical food is you. So it's
Right. What does it say on the card actually? So each card has what's called I'm sure you guys know is like the rule text, but then it also has a little flavor text as well. So for the bear, his flavor text says something like, "That's a nice pile of food you've got there. It would be a shame to get blood all over it." So he's insinuating that he would, in fact,
do what bears do. If you don't sacrifice,
But we're assuming you're smart enough to not mess with a bear.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so he takes from your hand, and then if you don't have that, he takes from your available mallows, and then if you don't have that, he takes your points.
Yeah.
So but there's only like 2 of him in the deck, so he's pretty rare and pretty harmless for the most part. Yeah. But there's all of these different mallows, all these different characters. They all have their own little personality and their own little story, and everyone really loves the art. I've heard, I don't know how many times now, like that people really like the art, and it's really cutesy kind of thing. So
yeah, we use the cuteness of the marshmallows to hide their devious nature. So the bit of the backstory behind them is that they have a small religion going on where they worship the flame. They want to be burnt, And so our main marshmallow, if you notice on the card, you look really closely, he's holding a smaller marshmallow, and he's about to impale him on the stick and sacrifice him to the flames.
Because that's the ultimate honor for a mallow, is to be roasted.
Is the chocolate sentient?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The chocolate is looking for a man in finance. She's hoping he'll be 6'5" with blue eyes and a trust fund.
I'm not sure what I was expecting.
Well, they're all sentient. Not only are they all sentient, but they're all actually selling something too. If you go to our website, you'll see each one has its own little ad for a fake product that we created. Like our Captain DougMallow has his sugar-free marshmallow-flavored rum that he's selling.
Sounds tasty.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we kind of developed the personalities around all these little mallows and everything like that, and they play a very different role in the game. So some are designed more as you can play them to get yourself some points. There's some that, for example, you play and it's like it tries to steal a chocolate. If the other person doesn't have a chocolate, then they don't get anything. So it's kind of a risk reward kind of thing there. Some are worth more than the others. Like we have this character King Mallow, who's like supposed to be the king of the marshmallows, and he's worth 3 of a regular mallow. So it's like if you're gonna attack somebody, then you probably want to attack him. And yeah, this is our first game we've actually published. So it's been a lot of learning, a lot of like trying stuff out, and going and doing stuff that it's like first time doing a show like this, and first time trying some stuff out here or there. So it's been an interesting journey so far.
A lot of firsts from the sound of things.
Yeah, definitely. Doug was just at the first game conference. What was that one?
That one was Game Acon.
Yeah. It
was in Palm Springs. I don't know why they did it in Palm Springs in the middle of summer. It was like 1,000,000 degrees. But it was.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
I'm gonna guess money.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the conference center was nice. The Palm Springs Conference Center was actually pretty nice. A lot of
Like, and
space.
is this like a card and board game expo?
No, I mean they had like everything there. They had they had the voice actors from a bunch of like Final Fantasy VII, and like they had cosplayers. They had people with video games, card games. I talked to some people down in that have a board game shop down in Reddington. They had like a whole wall of board and card games and everything like that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. People kind of came up, and I had my little booth there, and everybody played the game, and got some cool feedback about how people liked it and everything like that.
That's good. Right. So, might be best to take a bit of a rewind here to understand what was the impetus for building this very strange card game in the first place.
Well, so at the time, I was living in the RV life. Had a lot of wild adventures in the RV life, and I was originally not going to do it, but they have these game jam things, and it was like the theme was cozy, and I was like, well, what's the coziest thing you can think of? And I was just kind of like, I think campfire, campfire, being around the campfire, everything like that. And I told Nick, and I was like, what do you think about this idea? I thought maybe we could do it as like on paper, it'd be fun. But he really liked it, and so then I was like, okay, well, let's just put it out on Reddit and see, like, can anyone do the art for this? Because I'm certainly not an artist. So yeah, I was like, let's try it out, put it on Reddit and see how much it's going to cost, and what it's going to look like, and went through that kind of process, and it was like, it's not going to be $1 million. It's going to be pretty reasonable to get these actually made and drawn up, and we had a really good time, like, going back and forth on the designs of the characters. Like, oh, should be a pirate Mallow. What should he have? What should he look like? Stuff like that. And we just kind of had a fun time going through the art, thinking about what the characters are, what they should be, what they should do, everything like that. And then we made the first game, and we were like, well, okay, let's see if people like it. And people really seem to like it, and they liked the base idea. And from there, we've just kind of been iterating on it and getting people to play and see, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And yeah, all the way up to being like, I think this could have a real shot. People really seem to like it. So then we said, let's do our Kickstarter, and let's see if we can get enough people to sign on that they'd be interested in doing this.
And how long ago was the Kickstarter?
Oh, it's coming up. Yeah, it'll be in September.
Oh, it's an upcoming Kickstarter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we started like 6-7 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's when we started on the art and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and it grew really, really fast. So, like Doug mentioned, we got really lucky, had a great artist, put some stuff out there. And then the first version was barely playable, but everyone just had so much fun laughing at it. And, they were like, you guys got to make more, you got to fix it. And our intention wasn't to do anything more than build something for our family to play and enjoy. And then they just kept encouraging us to go further, and every step that we took, every revision that we did, more and more people liked it. We had a play test at a game shop in Washington State, and we just got a ton of people to come out. We didn't promote it. They just showed up. We had like 3 tables, and they just completely
That was so surprising. We were trying to get in the door and like put our little props up.
Yeah.
And it was like they mobbed us, and we're like, oh, was this the Rose playtest?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and it was still not great, and they were desperate to give us feedback, like, you got to change this, you got to add that, and we got so much good feedback that it felt like it would be a dishonor to the community to not, take their feedback into consideration and make another version. And so we just keep making a better version, and more people seem to be enjoying it. So right now we're working on getting some signups for the Kickstarter. So it's launching in September, and we got a website up where people can come check out the game, and we got a couple game trailers, things like that. And then we're asking if they want to sign up for the I don't know, early access, I guess, because we have a special version of the game for anybody who signs up early. So that's where we're at right now. Yeah, we're about like 90 days out, and we're not there yet, but we got a good number of people, and we're picking up steam. So feeling confident that we'll make it. And then if we can get enough people to sign up before it launches, then we feel like we'll have a really good shot of getting to our goal on Kickstarter.
All right. So are you seeking to use the Kickstarter to publish the game professionally, or is it for some other purpose?
Yeah, well, so what we're hoping to do is use the Kickstarter so that we can just make one big order, because as you probably know, with like most publishers, when you buy in bulk, the price goes down. So right now it's like $60 or something like that for a fresh deck of cards. And that's just, we can't charge that. Nobody would pay that. That's not fair. So we would just be going in debt, selling our card game. But if we can buy a ton of them all at once, then the price goes way, 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 way down, and all of a sudden we can give it, to sell the game at a really reasonable price. So to have it professionally published is the goal. Yeah, we definitely want to be able to just buy enough to give a copy to people who are looking to purchase one at a really reasonable price. And so our goal with Kickstarter is just raise about 10K, make one big order, and then we can, sell the game at like $25 a pop, which is we think is pretty reasonable given, what most card games go for.
So you're seeking a goal of 10,000.
Yeah, we did a lot of research on Kickstarter as well, too. Too big, too small, how many layers or levels, should you have, how many rewards, things like that. It's a whole industry, and as soon as you get started, people are immediately trying to sell you their services. They're like, oh, well, we'll get you on the Moonhawk Studios podcast, and they're trying to get you to sign up with them, and they'll promote you and things like that. And so we're not sure. Again, we're doing it for our very first time. What's worth it? What's not worth it? We're just figuring out and trying to find good people to talk to and hang out with along the way.
That would explain that. How I learned of this, because I got a PR brief about Roast in my inbox, which is a bit unusual, because we're more video games than card games. But
well, so the backstory behind that is it's probably because I've been working on this other game that's a video game, and a little bit ago I did a conference or a meetup, or I can't remember what it was now, but through there, the person that runs those ads, I met them at that conference, and they were really cool and they're really nice. I think they're from Super Indie.
Yeah, that'd be the ones.
Yeah, and I just maintained this relationship with this guy, and I was just talking to him, and the card game kind of got created way faster than the VR game, and so it was kind of like, oh, I wanted to do this before that. And I had just been talking to him, and I asked him, I was like, hey, I know your audience isn't really card games, would you think they might like this? They might find it interesting, because being a pretty big gamer, it's like me personally, I play pretty much all kinds, card games, video games, VR games, whatever. So I just asked him about it, and he was like, yeah, I think people will find it interesting and everything like that. And based on our website traffic and the people that came and checked it out, I think he was probably right that there's a lot of people that do find it interesting as well. So that's the kind of surprising story of how you might have found, you might have found it.
Yeah, Super Indie does that. Does occasionally branch out. Not the first time that's happened with them, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, getting back to the Kickstarter, right? So I suppose the most important thing to ask is, what are your backing tiers, and what are you promising at each level?
That's a good question. So, I mean, the first level that we have is actually a download of the game itself for people who, just might not have enough money and they really like the idea, so that you can, print it out yourself. Obviously, the paper quality will probably be lower if you print it home, but, it's like $5 for a printout, so that at least, if finances are an issue, you can still enjoy the game. And then, like, the next tier is just the standard deck. Comes in a custom box. And then after that, we have a limited edition version, which anybody who goes to the website right now and signs up will get that one for the same price as the regular version. And that one comes with a little bit of swag. So we've been exploring drop shipping manufacturers for swag, and we've created like a ton of like specific items for each one of our marshmallows. So for like our King Mallow, we have a pair of slides, and like we have some scarves and hoodies, and all sorts of cute little fun stuff for each one that's kind of unique to their own personality. And so we start to include that as the things go up, and then of course we also have like signed copies of the original artwork by the artists themselves. And then, like, near the top tier, we actually invite people to start participating in the creation of the game. So we have room still for more cards to be added, and we're looking for suggestions for people who want to, put themselves, their creativity into the game. And so we'll make a custom card and add it into their version of the game, so they'll have a one-of-a-kind card.
Makes sense. I was wondering if you were going to do something like, at the 100, 1,000, whatever your highest tier number is, you can get into the card game.
Yeah, that is the plan. Yeah, so we wanted it to be the highest because we didn't want to like bombard the artist with that many self-portraits to do, but she's exceptional, and that was one of the items we were going to offer as the top tier, that you get to actually be made into a Mallow.
Yeah.
And that should be fun.
Mm-hmm. What do we call it? We call it the top tier. If you get made into a Mallow, you become a part of the Order of the Eternal Flame.
Yeah, which also gives you a discount on upcoming games, like of the series.
Yeah, there's so many different marshmallow possibilities that we couldn't put them all into one game. So we already have expansion packs planned. We call it Mallows After Midnight. And it's just, even more marshmallows to add to your collection, basically. And then they increase the complexity of the game significantly, which it's not too hard to learn, but it's certainly not the easiest game in the world. And so for advanced players, it will provide a lot of entertainment for a long time, but as people who play games regularly, we wanted to keep pushing it, and we realized, like, hey, not everyone really wants to go that far with it. So we thought, well, we'll just make an expansion pack for the players who are getting, a little more serious about their gaming.
Interesting. Like, and this might be a question you can't answer right now. Like, do you have more than just the one expansion pack planned?
The ideas are pretty much limitless. I mean, we come up with things that we could do, or Mallows that would be hilarious in her art style, like the monster pack, like
we have
what's his name, Count Dracula.
Yeah, but
Mallowica.
No, I can't remember.
I can't remember his name.
Maybe we're blowing it.
Yeah,
so we have like themed packs coming up. So like he was mentioning, like monster packs. like urban legend type packs or pop star packs and things like that. So you can, we begin to theme them and add them on. Beyond that, though, we're not sure because it's actually extremely challenging to get the ratio for this game right. Too many special cards will tilt it one way or the other. As people attempt to score points, other people, of course, are trying to prevent that from happening. So if you have too many powerful cards, then the game becomes unbalanced. And so as we add new cards, we have to work pretty hard, do a lot of playtesting to make sure that we don't accidentally unbalance the game. So we're fairly certain of at least one expansion we can do, and we think we'll be able to keep going, but we'll have to keep playtesting it along the way. And my suspicion is that eventually, no matter how hard we try, we're going to break the game if we add too many other cards. And at that point, we're just going to have to either change the game fundamentally or make a new kind of game.
Like, I guess you could do variants, like what is done with, say, Monopoly or Ticket to Ride.
Right.
Yeah. So there was a suggestion when we did our first playtest as something from the guys that run mocks, and they've seen so many games. It's like they must have run into this over and over, and they played it and they really loved it. And one of their suggestions was that you change the middle campfire card to be like a set. So right now we have a very traditional campfire, and so it's basically a totally different game with the different campfires. So say you have like someone, when I was at the conference, they suggested like a wildfire. So instead of it being the homely campfire, now the center is a wildfire, and it completely changes the game. It's all about speed or this or that. So I think rather than trying to get all the rules to continually work for every setup, we'll probably just have these different expansions and sets of cards encapsulated in their own rule set, and then just expand from there. So you would have all of these various different kinds, and then you could say, well, I like this version better, or I like that version better, and then you could basically just kind of choose whichever one was your favorite.
Sounds
Yeah,
like an interesting plan. Like, well, I'm wondering, it's like, in terms of expanding to break the game, where do you think the line is there? Like, do you think like 3 packs is going to be the limit? 5? Or do you not know yet?
It would, yeah, we don't really know yet. So it would depend on the size of the packs and the power of each of the individual cards within it. Some cards end up being just so much more powerful than we originally anticipated, so we have to scale back the number that we put in the deck, or we ended up having to change the rules entirely because it can be used in such interesting combinations. So like one of our cards is called the Trash Panda, and it's just a raccoon that will allow you to dig through the discard pile. However, inside the discard pile, there are all sorts of cards that, if played again, could potentially end the game. Like, one of the cards says the fire burns low. So if you pull that card, 1, 2, 3, depending on the number of players, let's say you're playing with 6 players and you pull the rules will say if the fire burns low card comes up 3 times, on the 3rd time, that's the end of the game. So at any point in time, you have this Trash Panda who can just reach into the discard pile and end the game if they so want to by pulling out the Fire Burns Low card and then playing it again. So there's these really interesting, complex interactions that we never would have thought of that only come out after several rounds of playtesting. So it's almost impossible to say, if a certain number of cards would break the game. It could just be one card that all of a sudden breaks the game. And we might be able to get 10 cards in a pack and it functions great, maybe even plays better. But then we add just one more and then it just all starts to unravel.
Yeah, so far we've been able to tweak any card that the original idea behind the card to the point where it still works really well within the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, we've just been able to because there's definitely been instances where a card is too powerful or it doesn't or it's not powerful enough or something like that. So yeah, we would
I don't
definitely.
think any game has ever been designed that didn't have something that turned out to be broken or overpowered in some way that didn't come out in playtesting, no matter how much playtesting they do.
Yeah, and we're positive we're still missing stuff, but it's been a really fun logic challenge to try to figure out if we have this many, what's the ratio it will appear, and how powerful will it be, and to see that play out pretty much like we expected, and then all of a sudden something totally random will come out of the blue, and it'll all fall apart.
This is also why playtesting with outside people is important, because they will think of ways to break the game that you never considered.
Yeah. And instantly on our first one at Mox, it was like, oh, this is pretty solid, and then we went, and then everyone was like, oh, what if I do this? And we were like, yeah. So, but our current version, the one that we're trying to pretty much go to Kickstarter with, I think is really solid at this point. Has been play tested really rigorously, and so pretty happy with where we were to where we are.
That's good. It's it's good that it's been a helpful process instead of a waste of time or anything like that. Now, in regards to the Mallows themselves, you've mentioned you're going to have them on some of the tiered merchandise for the Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, so some of the cards, at a certain level, if you're looking for one of the cards or a couple of the cards, we'll give people the option to get a signed version of that card by the artist. But then we've also taken a lot of that artwork and we've put it on to merchandise in a way that at least we think looks, well designed. So it's not like we just slapped a bunch of card art right on top of everything we could get our hands on, So, we went through the process of making sure that it looked pretty high quality on anything that we put it on, and we're trying to be thoughtful about why we put it on there.
Okay. And, well, I suppose my first question in this regard is, have you factored in shipping costs, especially international shipping, if you're doing that?
Yeah.
It's funny. We have a whole spreadsheet for that. Just to figure out, what will the shipping be, and what's the cost of the merchandise, and what tier would we need to do, and how many do we need to get at what tier. Yeah, so that's been quite the math problem as well.
Yeah.
We've known people who got really burned on international shipping, especially.
Yeah, we've been trying really hard to not hit one of those pitfalls where you look back and you're like, oh man, and to just do a lot of research and try to figure it all out ahead of time and everything like that. And but there's still been some things that were like really surprising, at least to me.
Well, I know Kickstarter at this point, if you look at their standard setup, they encourage you to allow contributors to pay their own shipping fee rather than trying to offer free shipping, because it can become so confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So we were surprised by that at first. We were like, why wouldn't we offer the shipping? And Kickstarter went on to explain, like, oh man, you don't want to get into international shipping. You should just let them pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a really interesting learning experience. The whole industry of independent game making is, we're all small, but there's a lot of us out there. A lot of people going through the same struggles, learning the same lessons, and there are organizations, and I think even podcasts like yours help a lot to share and spread the knowledge about these kinds of things to avoid, or who's a good manufacturer, or what's a good studio, and all sorts of stuff like that. So I don't know. It seems like it's growing.
Like, I really can't speak to this particular segment because, once again, we don't have a lot of card people on the program, but
yeah,
I suppose we can take your word for it. Like, we do get people from other industries that have similar stories, certainly, where, but
like the physical comic
They
people,
sometimes
stuff
say,
like that. Yeah.
yeah. I'm like, but I don't know if card games are quite congruent to the video game sphere, where they're facing different problems. You know,
Yeah, when I
go ahead.
the stuff that I saw for the VR game, it was different but similar. Is the best way I can describe the tabletop scene versus the video game scene. Like we all kind of do the same things, but it is a little bit different in the tabletop world. Just the kinds of meetups that you get and the way that people flavor it and everything like that. But yeah, I think there is a lot of similarities between the two.
Jeez, this is really weird. We were just talking on our other show to a VR maker, game maker who brings boards games into the digital space, including VR.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so it's weird how things align like that. But anyway, speaking of such things, I do believe you mentioned that you want to eventually turn this into a video game of some kind. Now, are we talking about just a digital version of Roast that would be played on an iPad? Are we talking about a, let's say, 2D platformer starring the characters? Something else entirely?
Yeah, that's so funny you say that. Well, we're in the middle of making a 2D side scroller. One of our characters is a ninja. We call him DougMallow. And so we've been making a parody of Ninja Gaiden with our marshmallow guy. And so we're in the middle of building like a little side scroller.
Fluff Gaiden.
Yeah. He's kind of like an ad for the card game. He's not, the world's best side scrollers there ever been. He's mostly just browser tier.
Yeah.
But he's funny.
Well, but so there's that, and then I did want to make a digital version that would be the actual card game, just exactly like it is. And some friends told me about Tabletop Simulator, and I got into that, and it's kind of interesting. It's basically like it's a video game, but all it does is simulate tabletop games.
Yep, I'm aware of Tabletop Simulator. Yep.
Oh, okay. What do you think of it?
It's fine, but there are some kind of glitchy mechanics sometimes when it comes to card stacking.
Yeah, that's true.
So would you say that you would still use it though? Like, if you were in our spot, would you think it's worth like making a digital version and putting it on there?
Probably, yeah, because it's hard to play, like, especially certain games like you're talking about here online with people, but with Tabletop Simulator, like, hey, jump on Tabletop Simulator, let's play whatever game. I don't need to have, be physically with them. Make sure I have all the cards, because there have been so many times I've looked to, like, play Uno or whatever, and the box has fallen over, and, oh god, I'm missing, 4 or 5 cards.
Yeah.
It's probably easier to... It's probably easy... it's probably easier to do that than, say, go to, let's say, Asmodee and have them build a digital version of the card game.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so I was talking to some friends. We were playing tabletop, and they were explaining that you could basically just import your art into it, and your game is fully functional. Because you just sit there and play, and you explain the rules, or you basically upload a text file with your rules, and then you can just play. And then so I went in, and it was like doing all the legal stuff, and I was like, okay, so if I upload it, can they just steal it, or what's going on with this? And I saw a lot of stuff that was like, if you create it as a game and you push it out there, people can pretty much clone it and steal it. But if you're just like inviting people to private games, it's pretty unlikely. But then I also couldn't find any like legal anything about if you upload it, is it now free for them to use? So I think Tabletop Simulator was a really good idea, but I was a little like hesitant whether we should go that route, especially before the physical game is published. We have the copyright, but I was kind of like, maybe we should have it published out there and then do the Tabletop Simulator after the Kickstarter kind of deal. So yeah, that was kind of a consideration.
Not the worst idea in the world.
Because Tabletop Simulator is very open. You can just go grab models from just about anywhere to import them for use. So I could see how that could be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody buys the game and then they just copy the card models and then go play with somebody who didn't buy the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a piece of this is like we would like to be able to give the game to everybody to enjoy and play.
Mm-hmm.
We can't afford to do that, though.
Oh yeah.
But if we can get to a size, then something like a digital download on a paper copy, then that can just go straight to tabletop and we can let people have at it. Like if there are enough people who want a physical copy to support those who just want to go on tabletop, then that maybe would be our solution at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because if you look at like, what was it, Everdale, or there's all of these really big games that they put it on tabletop and they get cloned. I think that's what they call it. It's basically exactly what you just described, right? Where you buy the game and then you change like the name of one of the pieces and then you basically advertise it as your game.
Yeah.
And so, but these like really huge manufacturers do it. And then, and they know that it goes on. Like, it's a very well-known thing. So, like, but they're huge. So
or they didn't even
100 people
put the game on the Tabletop Simulator themselves. Somebody else just made the pieces without their consent. And they get nothing from it being on Tabletop Simulator.
That would suck.
Yeah.
It'd be so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but, we were actually pretty heavy into VR just before the pandemic, and we had been, building a couple different games, and we still really like it. But I think this game in particular is specifically designed to bring people into the same room. We went for a card format knowing it would be less convenient and less accessible than just jumping on the screen. And that was intentional, to try to give people a reason to come together and be in the same room. Because the game itself is not, there is a high level of strategy to it, but there's also just like a ton of boom, bam moments where people are shouting and pointing, accusing, and, so there's a lot of high energy when it comes to this game. So there's these quiet moments of contemplation like you get in poker, and then all of a sudden there's this rapid fire, just destruction or, protection of, high end points that are on the board and things like that people get really excited over. And that was something that we wanted to put people in the same room for. So face to face, really just feel what the other person is feeling, kind of a thing. And so we'll eventually do a digital version, but we wanted to try to use the artwork, use the game just as a way to bring people together.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the launch time frame looking here?
Yeah, so we got
about 90 days.
90 days, yeah. We have a couple more events like this coming up where we're going to talk about the game. We're going to try to get to at least one more conference. We have another big play test at a card shop coming up. And then we've sent the game out to a bunch of people, like early copies for reviews and things like that, to have them, tell their audiences what it's like, and, just hopefully share it and get the word out. And so that's our next 90 days, is just spreading the word. And then, the playtesting is pretty much done. Any, future playtesting we might do is just minor tweaks, things like that. And kind of just really to go back to our old haunts and our, community who helped us get it up and going in the first place, and say, hey, we made it, we finished it, it's going live. And then we launch.
Hmm. Well, I mean, it's hard to say anything other but good luck on that. In completing the journey here.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
It's been a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like overall, I can be pretty happy with my part of it so far. I think you can too. Like just even if it were to go nowhere from here, I would still be pretty proud of everything we've done. And just the amount of joy that I've seen people have while playing it. So I think people are really glomming on, and I think they really like it. But even what we've done so far has been really cool, and has definitely been worth it.
Yeah, as a game maker, I feel very satisfied. I've seen a lot of people play, and I've seen them smile. I've seen them have a lot of fun. And so I feel like I made something people enjoy, and that's awesome. And the only reason to keep going with it is because it almost feels like the game has a life of its own now. And to not let other people experience it would kind of diminish what has been created, and not just by us, but by all of the people who spent their time playtesting it and helping us figure it out and get it right. And then to just say like, all right, we did it, and then pack it up and go home. It feels like we were right there, and there were so many other people who could have had the same experience, the same fun. So what we're doing now, I think we even talked about this a little bit before the podcast started, when it comes to things like digital marketing or getting on social media about it, we're way more of the if you build it, they will come kind of people. Like we just want to make a great game. Like we have a hard time getting out there and tooting our own horn and going and buying ads and things like that. So that's a bit of a challenge for us, but we do it because we know there are like literally at this point, probably over 100 people who have helped us and told us how to make this game better. And we feel like we owe it to them and to the game itself to just try to share it with as many people as possible.
Now, does that include getting Roast into game shops or at least Amazon?
Oh man,
Well,
Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, yeah. So when I went to GameCon, one of the people that were there is this game shop, and basically I spent a lot of time with them, just hanging around, everything like that. I got like 3 of them wanted to sign up for the early release of the game, and I had a good talk with the game shop owner, and he was like, yeah, I think when it's done, it sounded like he was really interested in purchasing a bunch of copies for the board game shop. And I know that when we did our playtest at Mox, they were like, they would have been interested. They said they would be interested in purchasing the game potentially when it was all ready and everything like that. So there's definitely been a lot of opportunities for getting them into the game shops. And those are just the 2 that we personally interacted with. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot more. It's just there's only 2 of us, so
Yeah.
there's only so much time we.
Right, I'd expect that to be local at first, unless you go the Amazon route, something like that, something online.
Well,
Even
they have
then.
a big aggregator site called Board Game Geek. It's very popular, and they have a ranking system on there and a rating system on there. So apparently, a big component of doing well in the whole board game and card game industry is to get on there and get ranked well. So one of our goals after the Kickstarter is to collect up a bunch of reviews and try to get people to go to Board Game Geek and give us some reviews. And once you're there, that's kind of like the credit you can take around to some of the board game shops, and then also you can transfer to an online store like Amazon and say, look how many good reviews we have. And so that's our next stop after the Kickstarter. If we're successful there, then we're going to try to turn that into some good reviews and see if we can do exactly like you're suggesting, Adam.
I mean, it'll be once again intriguing to keep an eye on things. Like Right. So I think I've reached the end of my query. I'll see if my colleagues here have anything further that they have may not have asked yet.
I think most
I'm
of the
good.
stuff I was going to say has come up.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Okay. Then I want to thank both of you for taking time out of your schedule and being with us here tonight. So yeah, the game is Roast. It will be having a Kickstarter here in September. And if you want to get in on that, there is a Kickstarter page. I don't have it on me.
I was going to say, is it up for a reminder yet?
Yeah.
Because this does sound like a fun game.
I'm not sure what you mean by up for reminder.
Yeah, I'm not sure what reminder.
Is the Kickstarter page up yet for public view?
No. So the Kickstarter page is not up yet. We have a website though, which has pretty much everything that we've talked about here today. All the artwork, some playtest videos, things like that, and that's where you can sign up for early access. It doesn't cost you anything, but if you're interested in the game and you guys want to drop your email in there, when we launch on Kickstarter, you will be notified, and you will also automatically be upgraded to the limited edition version, which comes with higher quality tokens and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, we should have that link somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think I posted that in the general chat.
Yeah, I see it. Roastgame.com.
Yeah, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's us.
I was just curious. The reason I phrased it that way is because I've done a lot of Kickstarters by things that have then made and other things, and they always. I think it's an automatic thing on Kickstarter where, like, when a studio has done a thing before, they send out everyone who backed their last thing a link to a page that says, "Hey, they're doing another thing. Would you like to be reminded when it goes live?"
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good to know.
For the next one, then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but so if you're looking to keep up with it, Doug posts pretty regularly on Instagram, and we do updates for where we're going and any new card art that comes out.
Instagram, Facebook, and some YouTube. Not a huge amount of YouTube, but
yeah,
we add some stuff there, and then got some fun plans around. I made this marshmallow costume of one of our.
Yeah, that's right.
One of our characters is a Rastafarian guitar wielding marshmallow. So I made this marshmallow suit out of a Sony TV box, and I put a bunch of material around him. And so we're gonna take him and then get some footage of him just like running around doing stuff in San Diego and everything like that. So those silly videos will be like just hanging out on a bus or just joke videos, stuff like that. Those will be on YouTube and probably TikTok. So any one of those and everything like that'll be a way to keep up. And then, yeah, I'm always on Discord too.
Okay, then. All right. Yeah. It's always so much more awkward to transition on this program because we don't have transition music. We don't have any music anymore.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for having us, and we really appreciate it, getting to talk about the game. And yeah.
All right. Anyway, so with that in mind, welcome to the entertainment news portion of the broadcast. Right, Kevin, why don't you start us off by giving us the latest chapter in the saga as the Paramount turns?
Well, yeah, so see if I can get the story up here because just when you thought that the Skydance dance was done and over with, it turns out that in fact Sherry Redstone has had yet another change of heart, and apparently Skydance and Paramount and NAI are once again back, and apparently have reached a new agreement involving the Complex, Skydance buys NAI, and then takes over Paramount situation. Apparently, it's going to be for $1.75 billion for NAI, which is in fact less than originally thought of. And apparently, they've agreed to a 45-day period, which Paramount can go around and get other offers. Apparently, so once again, we're back on the clock, and like you said, the Paramount turns.
Yep.
At this point, I have no idea how this is going to end. Although I will say, it is funny that the three-headed CEO only got a couple of weeks before Sherry said, "Nah, actually, never mind."
I don't even know what to say to this anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I don't
like,
think yeah.
That's so Sherry. Yep, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, I'm sure Mac would have additional commentary.
Yeah, probably, but it's like at this point, it's just a case of what can you say for the most crazy Hollywood studio in Hollywood, which has had craziness for over 25 years now. So, at this point, just keep watching the space because who knows where we'll be at in a month from now.
Look, I'll be honest. I don't think even Paramount or its suitors know what's going to happen.
No, they don't. That's the thing. That's the thing about all of this. It's like,
of course it is.
They're basically waiting for what their mistress decides to do. It's all about Sherry. I mean, anybody at that studio can say they might know what's going to happen. They may say they might know what the next step is. But the fact of the matter is that it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter what those three CEOs do. And all that matters is what Sherry decides. Sherry is the one person that controls everything. And if she decides that she wants to blow up this whole three CEO thing, that's exactly what she's going to do. And there is nothing that George, Brian, and Chris can say about it. It's just that simple. And no one should believe, and frankly, most important, nobody should believe a damn word that comes from any of their mouths. The only one that matters is Sherry. That's it. That's it. That's it. So, again, we just gotta wait and see what happens here because that's all we can do.
Yep.
So,
I'm sure we'll be here again sooner rather than later.
And we'll see.
I mean, there's a good chance that Paramount just spontaneously combusts and gets sold
At this
for
point,
parts.
no. I mean, nope. I mean, probably not. I mean, yeah, sure. They're probably gonna. There was a story out in Bloomberg, I think, yesterday or the day before that that BET is back up for bids, which they wanted to do like about a year or so ago, and then they pulled out, which is what caused this sale process to be accelerated in the first place. It also caused Bob Bakish to walk out the door. But I mean, at this point, at this point, it's like, who acts up first? The three-headed monster that is the three CEOs right now, or the Ellisons? At this point, it's a case of who does it first. And meanwhile, a bunch of people are right now in the lurch. A lot of people are trying to do their jobs with this cloud over their head, and it's just a mess. So, but at this point, it's just situation where we just gotta say, watch this space and keep on rolling.
Yep. Ugh. I'm like, and it is worth noting, as Max said, Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 is now on,
Netflix.
not Paramount Plus.
No.
It's a sign of the dysfunction going on there.
Well, I mean, join us in a couple of weeks when we get the reveal that in fact Paramount Plus is dead and Paramax is coming.
I have heard
because yeah, at this point it's a case of who do you want to go to, Max or Peacock? Because you ain't gonna be palling with Disney, I'll tell you that.
Look, given the current brain trust, watch them go with MGM Plus.
Or hell, maybe they go with Redbox, despite the fact that Chicken Soup for the Soul just went up for bankruptcy. You never know. You never know with these. You never know with them. So,
right now for something completely different, because I don't know. I guess there might be something in the water, but we are back again with another. Well, this time a classic '90s anime getting a remake. And I know Ram and One Half went into the '90s. Technically speaking,
it was an '80s anime at heart.
Yeah, '80s. Yeah. It went into the '90s. But Magic Knight Rayearth, pure '90s. Like, indeed, Clamp has announced that it's getting a brand new anime project in celebration of its 30-year anniversary. Okay, so Magic Knight Rayearth's kind of in a weird place. It's, because how do I put this? It's part of the isekai genre, but it is also not part of the isekai genre. That is to say, it's
part of the isekai genre, but it doesn't have. It predates most of the later established tropes. And it's certainly not an isekai reincarnation story, which is a whole subgenre that pretty much started with whatever that fucking one is called, Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah. The point
Before that, a common feature of isekai stories was how can you get back, and if so, how?
Yeah. And a feature of 90s isekai was they tended to star teenage girls. Like,
see also Inuyasha, Fushigi Yugi,
Escaflowne. I'm like, still quite a lot of wish fulfillment, if I'm being honest. It's just different kind of wish fulfillment because of who's being centered. Though it does once again depend on what we're talking about here, because if Magic Knight Rayearth has anything in common with modern isekai, it's the whole swords and sorcery aspect of it. It's just it being a Clamp production. It's about 1 million times more creative than any one of the Sword Art Online clones, let's say.
There's no classic tabletop RPG magic system or anything. There is an elemental system in play, but it's mostly thematic rather than like, oh, your character has such and such an affinity with such and such an element, so they can unlock such and such a skill or whatever.
Yeah, more to the point, it's not basically retransposing MMORPG tropes onto a fantasy setting, in one way or another. Because you don't only have isekai, you have its cousin, the VR MMO, anime, manga, light novel, what have you. Yeah. So, Magic Knight Rayearth is called a janitor and a bulwark of isekai. I wouldn't exactly agree with that, because it doesn't really have all that much in common with what isekai has become. Like, did I drop?
No.
No.
Oh, sorry. I was seeing a lot of flashing, but not a lot of words.
I have currently
Anyway.
what sounds like Fallujah out behind me, so you're probably picking up that.
Right.
Boy.
The point is, Magic Knight Rayearth looks like 90s shoujo because it's 90s shoujo.
So this is going to it's definitely, they've said it's a readaptation, not any kind of like follow-up or anything. That leaves a lot of room for questions about considering. Okay, so this is a 2-3 volume mangas. It's not that long. So the first anime significantly expanded on certain parts and changed other parts, especially in the second season.
Right.
The question is, in a readaptation, aside from making it prettier, are they going to do the same things, different things, make it shorter and not do as much expansion on it, and then see how well the story lines up that way?
Possibly. What they're probably not going to do is avoid being like the OVAs. Because the OVAs changed everything.
The OVA or movie, well, I forget if it was an OVA or movie, whichever it was, because Escaflowne did this too, is effectively a completely different story with a few of the same plot beats.
Yeah. I never watched.
For starters, it's not an isekai. The entire thing takes place on Earth. The other nations are invading Earth instead of them being called from Earth to do stuff in Sephiroth.
Yeah, like I said, the reaction to the Escaflowne OVA was about the same as the Rayearth OVA. Like, it was a very controversial retelling of events, let's say.
They both try to make it darker, both aesthetically and, a bit thematically. Honestly, Rayearth is actually incredibly dark thematically in some ways, but they don't smash your face all over it.
Well, it got dark in the same way Sailor Moon got dark. Like Sailor Moon. I'm like, you forget how dark Sailor Moon could get in its incarnations.
Yeah.
I know it can, but Rayearth, the entire second season is brought about because of the trauma left over from the first season.
I'm like, once again,
they just don't draw that much attention to it.
Yeah. I will grant you that, Sailor Moon didn't deal with that, but that's mainly because 90s Sailor Moon wasn't really concerned about continuity all that much.
Especially the dub.
Indeed. I'm like, but, my concern, is if they're going to go, if this ends up being another Sailor Moon Crystal. Because, I remember that's what Sailor Moon Crystal was being hyped up as a
where the
manga.
Only thing was it's supposed to be a more loyal adaptation and theoretically prettier, but it ended up mostly actually being uglier and didn't gain much.
Well, it ended up being
for the first season.
Yeah, it's because Toei just didn't put the resources into the first season.
My understanding is later seasons of Crystal are significantly better.
Yes, they are. Because, the tone is... Basically, they dropped what they were doing. That was trying to be manga accurate. And they injected some of the old 90s personality, back into the fray. Because, as it turns out, X amount of people experienced Sailor Moon through the 90s anime in one way or another. X divided by 5 actually read the original manga. I'm not saying that the Sailor Moon manga wasn't popular. It was. But, as far as I know, the Sailor Moon anime is an international sensation. The Sailor Moon manga, maybe it's different in Japan, but as far as I can tell, Japan didn't really like Crystal either. Like, so, whatever things that they did with Crystal, it didn't work out. And even when they course corrected, it was kind of too late. Because we did get season 3S, the Infinity Arc, but that didn't do well either, to the point where they still finished the adaptation in movies.
Yeah.
That were relegated to Netflix. In some cases, like Sailor Moon Cosmos, Sailor Moon Stars, it still isn't out in the West yet. It's coming soon, but it's been over a year. If you want to know how far the Sailor Moon Crystal project has fallen. Also, this thing took a fucking decade plus to get out the door.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't even know there was the movies coming out until I saw an ad for it on Netflix. I was like, oh, this is still going on?
It's out now. It's out in August and it's over, and then it's over. But yeah, I mean, it's like.
Well, I just thought there was like a couple seasons. They didn't even finish all of Moon. I didn't know they were making the movies or whatever.
Yeah,
I want to say that each series of the Sailor Moon manga is about as long as each season of the Ray Earth manga, but each season of Sailor Moon was like 52 episodes. I think Ray Earth was only 26 total, or 52 between the two, rather, wasn't it?
I think so.
Sailor Moon had to add, the original added a lot to it.
Well, yeah, Sailor Moon was a Toei production.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, which means it ran by the week. I'm like, with, maybe a break for the summer / in between series, but this is how Sailor Moon gets 200 episodes. Which, isn't, that unusual for the time period.
Yeah.
It's more the type of show, because usually the shows that get that amount of episodes are shonen or josei titles. Right. I think that's what Sanase-san is at the very least. The one that has like 6,000 episodes to its name.
Yeah.
Well, shonen's the shonen long runners are like manga that also don't seem. The reason I draw a distinction between Sailor Moon and that slightly is that Sailor Moon does have a limited number of clearly defined story arcs of a fixed length between them, unlike Dragon Ball, One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho, where some of the later story arcs just get extremely long.
Well, yeah, the manga's got long there.
Right, that's what I mean.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Sailor Moon is... The 90 series is quite the interesting beast. So... Like, I don't have a lot of opinions on the Magic Knight Ray Earth announcement right now, because it just barely got announced. Like, we've barely seen anything of it other than like a key art.
It was all of the new content in the promotion was a key art with a few animated components, mostly butterflies.
Right.
And while I did enjoy the nice new art of Boo's ridiculously long sword, that wasn't a whole lot to go on.
Yeah. I'm like, and I don't think it's like the Ramna remake announced last week. It's like all we got was we got even less there because we didn't even get any like anime visuals. We got a bunch of manga panels.
Mm-hmm.
So, strangely enough, less of a question mark there because we know that David Production is going to be helming that. We don't know who's going to be working on the Magic Knight Rayearth reboot yet. So, and apparently it was 49 episodes and followed up with 3 OVA projects.
All right.
So, yeah. Also, if you want to go watch the classic series, it's on Crunchyroll. It's on YouTube. And I mean, like, legally,
Yes.
it's available there.
Though I guess watch it while you can,
As
because
opposed to-
sometimes when the remakes come out, they delist the previous versions.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that'll about do it for this week. Like, I know we're wrapping up a bit earlier than usual, but once again, we're lacking Mac time.
Right.
Yep.
We didn't have to listen. We didn't have to listen about his greatest new finds for half an hour.
Right. Once again, I'm sure he'll bring it up next week. Speaking of which, coming up on July 10th, episode 7, we'll be having John Stoll of the Atari Network. Welcome to the Atari Network. We cover everything Atari. Here you can find your featured videos every Thursday. Basically, they talk about all things Atari. Like, not just like the Atari 2600, but the Jaguar, Lynx, 7800, computers, all things Atari. Like, I am wondering if that means if they talk about Atari past the system. Like if they talk about French Atari or Atari games. Look, there have been a shitload of Ataris over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good name. That's why people keep trying to keep using it.
I mean, even to this day, like Atari is still around in some shape of form. And he kind of bought out a couple of developers we know last year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so look for that next week. And until then, stay safe.